So once it's 10:32, we'll begin talking about like what we're going to be doing in this co-current in this next session. Okay, so right now it is 10:32. So I don't know if you guys have looked at the schedule already, but if you have, then you would know that our next presenter will be Cause. So I just want to so I'm just gonna spotlight. Should I spotlight everyone, or is there just one person specifically that will be presenting?
It'll be me and Justine Ventura Mejia that will be presenting next.
Okay, that sounds good. So whenever you're ready, and you have you both of you have until 10:55.
Excellent. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us and for your interest in Cause. So what we're going to do is first introduce ourselves. So my name is Steve Lin. I am the Director of Programs at Cause, or the Center for Asian Americans United for Self-Empowerment. And I'll let my colleague Justine introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. My name is Justine Ventura Mejia, and I am the Programs Manager here at Cause, and I've been here for 2 years.
Excellent. So for our presentation, we are going to be giving an overview, an introduction into our organization and our programs, and then we're going to laser focus in on our Leadership Academy, our student program, and give a glimpse into some of the work we've done this past summer. And so,
may a mod enable screen share for us so we can begin our presentation?
Okay, it should be able to work now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, here we go.
all right. And so, yeah, I think we're gonna, if you can move the slides forward, Justine, I think you'll be introducing our organization's mission.
Awesome. Yes. So thank you all for taking the time to learn more about Cause, which stands for the Center for Asian Americans United for Self-Empowerment. Before we dive into the work as Steve has laid out, I wanted to introduce you all to our mission, which you can see on the screen. Our mission is really the message that drives our work, and it is to advance the political and civic empowerment of the APA community through nonpartisan voter outreach, training, and education, as well as through leadership development. We really strive to support those to vote, participate, and lead, which is also our tagline. So I'll kick it back over to Steve to talk more about the efforts that really go in line with our mission.
So Cause works towards empowering our community through a couple program initiatives. One of our first program initiative is vote initiatives, and these are VOTE stands for voter outreach, training, and education. And the focus of these programs are to build awareness of issues that are important to the APA community, as well as disseminating information on how people can participate in the political process. And so some examples of past VOTE initiatives are speaking out against anti-Asian hate crimes, sharing voting resources during the 2020 presidential election, voting education in the recent gubernatorial recall election in California, statewide polling with the Los Angeles Times newspaper, as well as other community-based organizations exploring cross-racial relationships and perspectives, as well as an upcoming Halloween scavenger hunt to engage our younger future voters. And so those are some of the examples of vote initiatives that we have. And Justine will talk a little bit more about our leadership development programs.
Yes, thanks, Steve, for sharing about Vote. Vote is some critical work. And in addition to this, in the community, we provide opportunities for civic leaders to expand on their knowledge, their skills, and their network. This work ensures that we have strong leaders for the Asian and Pacific American community. It's important we have a seat at the table, and Cause is devoted to making sure that this is possible. So we're cultivating the leaders of today, tomorrow, and we always honor those of yesterday as well. And so, as you can see on the screen, we have a really cool pipeline with 3 distinct points, and these 3 distinct points are part of our leadership development programs. On the left, you will see the Leadership Academy, which is geared toward undergraduate students and recent graduates. So if you are an undergraduate student or recent graduate, Leadership Academy would be the opportunity for you. Next on our pipeline in the middle, you will see the Leadership Institute, which is geared toward working professionals. And on the right, you will see Leadership Network, which is geared toward seasoned change makers. So those who already have influence, those at the C-suite level. In line with today's programming, we're going to share more about the Leadership Academy soon, which I'll pass over to Steve, but I just really want to emphasize that the leadership pipeline here gives everyone access to get involved and develop more as a leader. And so I'll pass it to Steve to talk more about Leadership Academy, who you might have seen through Sean Lee if you were here with us in this room earlier, and hear about later today.
So the first step in our pipeline programs is the Leadership Academy, and CLA for short, develops and connects the next generation of Asian Pacific American community advocates. It's a 9-week paid internship for college students and recent graduates. And this past year, we were excited to host 14 interns from all across the nation. And we met 3 times a week, 100% virtually. So that is just a glimpse as to what we did. From a larger perspective, if we can move to the next slide, we have 5 main objectives for CLA. And so you can see them on the screen there. The first objective is to expand the understanding of civic engagement beyond voting. So encouraging folks, our college students, to think about how one can advocate for the Asian Pacific American community in whatever sector these students will seek internships, jobs, and future careers in. The second objective of our program is developing organizing and advocacy skills. The third goal is deepening understanding of Asian and Pacific American issues. The fourth one is developing leadership and professional skills. And the last, kind of a piece that connects all of these pieces, is building connections amongst the cohort, our future leaders, as well as with the Cause network of professionals and elected officials. And so Justine will dive a little bit more into how we actually implement and achieve these objectives through our program structures.
Yes, thank you so much, Steve. As you can hear, the Leadership Academy objectives are pretty comprehensive and I think really worth a student's experience. Could I get a thumbs up reaction in the chat if we have any students here in this room? I know I'm seeing some familiar faces, so just checking. Any students with us today? Awesome. Hi, Esther. So the Leadership Academy is definitely a program you might be interested. Steve pointed out our objectives, and there are several elements, I would say, that make it such a well-rounded experience. And first is the civic leadership workshops. These are times dedicated to expanding knowledge. Workshops in the past have looked like simulations of legislative meetings, public comment. As you can see on the screen, we have students doing a brainstorm session together. And this is actually part of one of our roundtables on issues. This one was about homelessness and how to address and provide services to those of our unhoused neighbors. On top of that, we also have had luncheons with civic leaders. So it's a great exposure and a great time to build skills. So beyond our civic leadership workshops, which are sort of like what you might imagine as like the classroom aspect of the program, is the Capital Summit. Cause at its core is all about civic engagement, and we want to highlight the work that's being done at the California State Capitol. And so we have our students meet with top legislators, staffers, and other experts within the Cause Network to better understand the political process. And just so you know, I know we're in a tricky situation right now with the pandemic, but in the past, this has been hosted in person. It's been a live trip, but in these virtual days, this has been sort of a week-long exposure experience in which we get to have up close and personal talks with folks like the California State Treasurer, Fiona Ma, as well as other folks in the government, and those who have really helped shape California today. So the Capital Summit is a really exciting opportunity. I find it really fun. And beyond that, we give our cohort several opportunities to get hands-on experience. As I mentioned and emphasize, Cause is all about those who want to serve the community, who want to, vote, participate, and lead. And so our cohorts are comprised of individuals interested in serving the community. And so we give them this opportunity and the support to come together for a civic engagement project. So we have our group of students lead a project that impacts the community. In the past, this has looked like Get Out the Vote videos. And so students have recorded information about upcoming elections, about what motivates them to get involved. In 2020, this actually looked like outreach for the census, which was so important. We reached over 33,000 folks via text banking and phone banking, as well as over 1,000 social media impressions. And so this civic engagement project really is community work and has a lasting impact. Beyond that, there are more opportunities to get hands-on experience and make a mark. So students have the opportunity to get involved and get placed in internship offices. Cause believes that leaders don't have to be in political office. Leaders can come from anywhere, and which is why our leadership pipeline is so accessible, and we do vote initiatives. And so our internship placements are actually tri-sector. So students have been placed at public sector offices, including congressional offices. They've been placed in private sector offices, including energy corporations or public utility companies. They've also been placed at nonprofits. As you can see on our screen, one of our interns was placed with East West Players, which is an Asian American theater here in Los Angeles, and they were able to help them with marketing, donor relations, so many different aspects. And so the internship placement is a great place to really develop more skills. And so I've talked about all four of our different components, the civic leadership workshops, the Capital Summit, the civic engagement project, as well as the internship placements. And so I'm going to turn it over to Steve to talk about how all of these things turn out for our students.
Yeah, so to give you all a more close-up view of what we did this past summer, as we mentioned, COVID threw a couple wrenches into the programs and projects that we usually do. And so we shifted things to all virtual. That said, we still offered our interns 2 big projects for them to work on. This past summer, the first project was related to the upcoming Los Angeles mayoral election happening in 2022. And they were assigned the responsibilities of researching the duties of the mayor's office, thinking about issues, information about the LA mayoral race, as well as issues that impact the Asian and Pacific American communities here in Los Angeles. In particular, they researched anti-Asian hate crimes, disaggregation of Asian and Pacific American data, mental health, preserving Chinatown, elevating information about Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander communities, as well as supporting ethnic studies. And so all of this research wasn't just for research's sake, but also to create social media campaigns that we could push out through our social media networks to help inform our community about the mayoral race and all the issues that could be of importance to them in considering who they want to vote for. The second project that was presented on a little bit earlier was the Energy Upgrade California, which was focused on elevating Asian and Pacific American voices, historical and cultural energy and resource conservation practices. For those that are in California, you may have seen some of the Energy Upgrade California commercials, Keep It Golden, fantastic, beautiful landscapes and people with mesh bags carrying their groceries home, but oftentimes our voices, our stories, our cultural practices within the Asian Pacific and American community have been left out. And so the interns worked really hard on interviewing community elders about their perspectives and practices, researched and authored blog posts about APA conservation practices, as well as created social media and short video posts. And so we were able to push these out once again through the Cause social media network and had some really fantastic social media outcomes. And so if you could forward to the next slide, Justine. In terms of the blog posts, as well as the social media posts and videos, they all went out on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as Instagram. And in terms of reach, we were able to connect with over 3,000 folks individually. Impressions-wise, it's showing up on feeds. We were able to connect with close to 11,000, excuse me, people. And then also our videos were played close over 8,000 times. And so we're really excited and happy that we were able to create social media that really elevated and highlighted and engaged the APA community and thinking about what are the things that we do within our community that contribute to energy conservation. And so if we can move forward. So that is our project outcomes. In addition to measuring our project outcomes, we also surveyed our interns weekly on all the different sessions that they participated in, including a post-program survey as well. And so you can see on the screen there, overall satisfaction out of 5, we had a 4.79 from our interns and hit a home run, 100%, with our current interns recommending this program for others. And so in addition to quantifiable survey data, we also were able to collect some qualitative data. And so here's just a few collections of some of the qualitative data that we were able to collect. One is touching on the broadening of understanding of civic engagement. Quite a few interns expressed the opportunity to develop brand new skill sets, in particular related to social media and creating video, deepening understanding of APA issues, as well as confidence to advocate for the APA community. And so while this summer was definitely not without its challenges, I can say confidently that for Justine and myself, we really enjoyed the opportunity of working with our interns this year, creating and adapting our program to be a virtual program, and are really proud and happy with the work that our interns had created. And so we'll take a pause here to see if there were any questions that anybody would like to ask us.
So I just wanted to ask, how long has your organization been around for?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe this year will be our 28th year, so creeping up on 3 decades. And to add a little bit of additional information, our student internship program is also one of the oldest programs. And so I think it's a little, maybe close to the 28 years as well, but it's one of the first programs, and we've been able to connect with a lot of young students who have then gone on to make impact in the communities and all the different sectors and career positions that they've been able to achieve.
Are there any other questions from the audience? And I just wanted to ask like one more kind of a follow-up to the first one is, so what was like the founding concept like 30 years ago? Like what was the reason that a cause came about?
Might need to help me out with this one, Justine. But I believe the rallying point for the event that allowed for the creation of cause or spurred the creation of cause was the Los Angeles mayoral election 28 years ago. I think there was a Asian American candidate that really excited and brought together a broad coalition of communities across Los Angeles. And so, yeah, just community members who were excited about this candidate through getting involved in either the campaign or just following the campaign, were able to connect with each other and found that they had similar interests in supporting and wanting more Asian American and Pacific Islander representation within our city's government as well as the state government. And from there, while the candidate unfortunately did not win the mayorship, they recognized like, hey, well, we've made these connections with each other. This is really powerful. If we can come together as a community and really support APA candidates for offices at all different levels. And from there, that is kind of the springboard to the creation and development of cause.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to say? Or?
No, I think the last thing we wanted to share with all of our audience members is if you're interested in learning more about cause, you can subscribe to our newsletter there and get updated pretty regularly. You can also follow us on social media. We have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, as well as a LinkedIn profile. You can follow us there. If you have any follow-up questions or are curious about the program or our organization, you can reach Justine and myself through the emails listed there. And then lastly, we are creeping up on the next round of CLA applications. And so for the students who are interested in applying for the program, you can find more information there. So thank you for your time and for coming to the presentation.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for that presentation. I'm sure like a lot of us here are students, so we'll most likely be looking into like some of the internships that Cause has to offer, and maybe who knows, some of some of us might become future interns. So I just wanted to introduce our next presenter. So the next organization they'll be presenting is YAPA. So if everyone would like to, whoever will be screen sharing, I'd like to turn on their camera and share their screen.
Yeah, I will be screen sharing. Sanjay, could you help with spotlighting while I do that?
Yeah, for sure.
Hello, everyone. Sorry. Hello, everyone.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect.
Next page, please. So welcome, to here to listen to. Welcome to be here to listen to YAPA's story. So here's today's agenda. We're going to go over YAPA's program overview and talk about a couple components of YAPA, the community service project, our summer civic camps, our study groups, and some of the conference that we did. Okay, next page. Yangfang?
Hi. So YAPA stands for Young American Policy Advocates. Our mission is to educate, engage, and empower our youth to study and advocate for local policy issues so they can become independent thinkers. Next page, please. Even though we have adult mentors and the organization is mainly student-driven, the students really does most of the work, and we just help connect them with mentors with expert knowledge. And another thing that makes YAPA different is we are truly nonpartisan. We go out of our way to respect and seek out diverse viewpoints, and we are committed to do in-depth study of issues so that we don't blindly follow groupthink. And then we try to connect technology with data. This is something we just started to do this year so that we connect data science with policy making. Next page, please. So we policy making, if we don't make decision properly, we could have previous page, please. We might have unintended consequences. Something that might feel good might not be good in the long run and in practice. And that if we are in an echo chamber, we might think something is right when there are other things we didn't consider. Next, please. And then it's important to seek out, be truly inclusive of viewpoints so that we have better, healthier policy that solve the same goal, but then in a way that's more sustainable and that doesn't have unintended consequence. Next page, please. So this is the step we do: identify the problem, do research, identify the cause, assess the solutions, and we are open to multiple ideas and criticism. Try to build a coalition, and then we take action. Next, please. I'd like to welcome our amazing co-presidents from this year that are elected by the student body, Alisa Yao and Esther Luan.
Hey everyone, I have the great pleasure of introducing our student officers at YAPA, all of which who are students in the Bay Area and have greatly contributed to both our team and our various community and study project efforts here at YAPA. So obviously co-presidents, you have me and Alyssa. Our vice presidents are Sanjay, who is in charge of programs and partnership, Maggie, who's in charge of web and communication, Anita, who does marketing and PR, and Dylan, who is our VP of operations. And we also have directors for each of our 4 functions. So we have Audrey for programs and partnerships, Elizabeth for web, Olivia for marketing and PR, and Ishani for operations. Next slide, please. So YAPA has a year-round program. During different parts of the year, we focus on different initiatives. From December to January, we generally focus on training officers for the coming year. We host a leadership camp for our team bonding and to improve our chemistry, and also to brainstorm new projects for the coming year and the things that we want to focus on in our efforts.
And then later in the spring, all of the YAPA leadership members take on 1 or more service projects tailored to their interests. And then we are challenged to engage with our community to advocate for that specific project.
Yeah, and from June to July, we kind of pivot to focus on summer camps for our communities. We hold week-long camps for middle school and high school students, creating a modular curriculum with different kind of focus points on skills necessary for advocacy, for connection with different local officials or the community. We design hands-on community projects for students to take away from these camps, and everything is designed and led by us youth leaders, and with the help of Sophia and Leon.
And then finally, YAPA's signature program is our 10-week study groups in which students stick with a relevant topic under the guidance of mentors and professionals in that field to learn about pieces of legislation, prominent issues in local area, and other ways that they can use their knowledge in this area, in this topic, to create change. And then finally, we wrap up these 10 weeks with a conference featuring presentations from each individual study group. Next slide, please. So during the spring season of 2020, and then you can just keep like changing the slide, yes. During the spring season of 2020, YAPA leadership takes on different community projects like we just mentioned, and in 2020, we took on 5 projects. This included data privacy, API hate, juvenile justice, ethical consumption, and then finally, YAPA Let's Talk, or YALT. And once again, each of these topics were selected by our student leaders based on what we were passionate about. For more information about any of these projects, please go to our website. It's in the pink text box. We will talk about each of these topics in various depths, starting with data privacy. Next slide, please. Okay. Although technology and social media have become integral parts of our lives, there can often be a lack of awareness about things like keeping your information safe, especially on social media. And we aimed to to raise awareness among the general public about these rights with a webinar about their digital rights and empowering the public to exercise those rights. In particular, we wanted to strike up conversations between parents and their children who are growing up in this digital age. And even though California has acted as a leader in establishing privacy laws, many of the consumers are still unaware of the technical jargon that saturates the terms and condition statements.
So moving on to our next YAPA initiative, starting in March and continuing through the summer into fall, YAPA was greatly involved in both hosting and promoting and supporting various AAPI efforts in the Stop AAPI Hate movement. Our 2 most major events were hosting our in-person rally at Saratoga City Hall, as well as our How to Move Forward webinar, which was online. Next slide, please. So here are some images from our in-person rally, which had a turnout of 500 to 600 people and was an opportunity for our local community to stand together and feel connection on this issue. Our speakers range from elected officials to, previous slide. Our speakers range from elected officials to organizers and activists. Following this rally, YAPA also sponsored and supported various other rallies across the Bay Area. And following the rally, we hosted our How to Move Forward community forum, which connected grassroots organizers and elected officials with members of the community to discuss solutions to the discrimination and other issues we're facing as a community, and as well as how to heal from the attacks and violence that have been prevalent lately. Next slide.
Another of our projects focused on destigmatizing the juvenile justice system and promoting the mental health of our youth members. We hosted an online educational event with the help of attorneys and detectives from this very system, which revealed the injustices and the flaws of how juvenile delinquents are treated and the common societal causes of illegal behavior in the teen community. Next slide.
So in YAPA Let's Talk, which is a community forum targeted towards young people aiming to allow civil and productive discussion about controversial political issues, which is something very important to figure out, something very important to focus on, especially with the prevalence of online discussion today and the large political gap between the left and the right, where both sides tend to demonize the other. So by moderating and providing background materials and guiding questions during our YALT forums as our YAPA team, we created a uniquely safe space and supportive space to learn from the other side. Next slide. Our topics range from things like race-based affirmative action to observing patriarchy in American society. And we try to recruit very diverse speakers who will give unique and insightful perspectives to each of our attendees, as well as unbiased people who will provide a nuanced view of the issue. For example, for our race-based affirmative action event, we invited Will Rush, who's the host of the Cylinder Radio podcast, to provide background about the issue and also presentation on how to have a constructive discussion, bridging different values. And for our patriarchy event, we invited Elbo, who is a writer interested in the sociological implications of cultural narratives in America, as well as Luana Maroja, who is a professor of biology at Williams College, and Xander Key, who is a trans man.
The purpose of our project Spill the Beans was to bring awareness to the detrimental impacts on the environment and countless victims of animal exploitation, as well as unethical and unsustainable working practices. On the first day of our symposium, we streamed Earthlings, a documentary about humankind's unsustainable dependence on humans for economic purposes. It features 5 sections: pets, food, clothing, scientific research, and entertainment. This documentary unpacks animal use in each industry. It was very hard to watch, which speaks volumes about the ethics of animal agriculture and animal exploitation in general. The second day of our webinar featured our amazing speaker, Dr. Amy Bailey of Silicon Valley Clean Energy and Isabel Canada of Chlorophyll. Amy brilliantly talked about clean energy in relation to common appliances and vehicles, as well as what we can do to be more sustainable and eco-friendly, while Isabel presented on animal agriculture, as well as her work as an animal activist and humane educator. We had a lot of community chat for this event and put together a challenge for attendees to do the week after this webinar. Next slide, please. Now moving on to like how things evolved in our process for planning this. So the leadership team actually started planning for the spring projects back in December of 2020. Everyone on the leadership team had to pitch a project that they were very passionate about, and the pitches with the most interest became our finalized projects for the spring cohort. My co-lead Alyssa pitched a project on ethical consumption, while I pitched a project on ethical and sustainable consumption. We then decided to consolidate our projects into one. Originally, Alyssa and I had different plans on what we can do. She wanted to have a documentary screening, while I wanted to invite speakers and have different online clubs, including an upcycling club, vegan cooking club, gardening club, and a scrap art club. As spring started to approach, I realized that we didn't have enough funds for professionals to conduct our clubs, nor did we know for sure if community members wanted to attend a weekly Zoom club. To compromise, we decided to have a 2-day webinar, with the first day centering on a documentary that Alyssa suggested, and the second day on a speaker panel. We also decided to have a week-long challenge that would make up for the online clubs. While planning Spill the Beans, we were able to confirm our first speaker, Dr. Bailey, pretty quickly. But finding a second speaker was much harder. It took us a while, but we finally decided on an animal rights advocate, who was recommended to us by another YAPA member. Unfortunately, this speaker dropped out 2 weeks before our webinar. We were definitely stressed out, but tried to stay calm and realized that we had the experience and the network needed to find another speaker. With less than 2 weeks before our webinar, we invited Isabel Canada to speak, and thankfully, she said yes. Like I said in the previous slide, our webinar ended up being successful with lots of community engagement.
Thank you. So that's conclude our community service project, which the team did in the spring. And now we're going to introduce the YAPA's signature program, which is the advocacy and the study groups. This program was started in 2019. And up to now, 2021 is our 3rd season doing this. Okay, so the study group cohort include a pre-session workshop to equip the participants some basic knowledge about civic engagement and advocacy. Then the main part of the study group is a 10-week study session led by an experienced mentor or area of expert in the topics, a variety of the civic topic. Then we, among the 10-week session, we hold a big group cohort meetings 3 times. And at the end, students present their final research and finding and the project at the annual YAPA's conference. So we're going to talk about each part of this. Next slide. Okay, so this is a example. This is a mini camp that the topics that we hold in the summer before the fall cohort to equip students. Okay, next page. Then this is the 10-week sessions. As you can see the picture, in the 2019, we hold everything in person in Cupertino City Hall using the facility. And our mentor include elected officials, area of topics, experts of different topics. Okay, a member conduct their own research and group projects, and the individual mentor also using their own network invite their individual guest speakers to join their own individual study group meetings. And as I mentioned, every 3 weeks, we have a big group cohort meeting. So during the big group cohort meeting, every study group will present their intermediate project reports, status, and we do some fun event, fun team bonding during the cohort meeting as well. Okay, next one. Okay, here is some detail about the cohort meetings. Because we have a luxury using this great facility in Cupertino City Hall in 2019. So in that year, we actually doing the big cohort meeting, not only we do a project presentation, we host some separate panels, invite experts, and we do some fun team bonding stuff. You can see the picture. The kids actually have a great time bonding. That is why we were able to build such a strong leadership team, because during the big cohort meeting, they really build each other and get to know each other very well. We have lots of fun. Okay, and we also have some student panels hosted during the cohort meeting. Next page. Okay, so now I'm going to move to Liang Fang, going to talk about the individual study group topics over the past 3 years.
Yeah, thank you, Sophia. I'd like to add that for the 2019 in-person cohort, actually the co-president Ben Nelson Moo and Benny, they designed all the cohort meeting team building, and they have a lot of innovative ideas, and the kids have really had fun doing those, either hands-on or it could be a challenge of stock trading game that they were able to do, and they really get to know each other better. And the 2020 and 21, we have to do this in person. We still had cohort meeting, and we are trying to do more breakout sessions so that students still get to know each other. And so now I'm going to go into the study group. So YAPA started in 2019. In 2019, we decided on 5 topics based on what mentors we can find at that time. So we had one on housing crisis and saving performance art center, link center, and teen mental health, which is always a big issue for the students around here, and the pollution issue in a nearby cement plant, and the vaping issue at that time, so tobacco and their impact. And they advocated for an ordinance that actually get adopted by Cupertino City. And I think surrounding cities also adopted them. These were led by a nonprofit, 2 nonprofit groups that are advocating for them. And we had elected officials and also passionate community leaders leading this project. The next slide, please. And then in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, we were uncertain if we want to continue. However, the students drove us to continue this, and they decided what topics they want to focus on, and each of them signed up to lead one of the group. So the topics and then based on their topic, we start to find mentors that can support them. So police reform was a big issue at that time. So we had a great mentor who was a former superintendent of a school, and then author and speaker lead that group. And the students, some students were also working on a draft bill that they pitched to a legislator. And then the affirmative action group was led by former superintendent and also then president and many-year president of League of Women Voters here, very experienced civic educator, Eleanor Yi. And she was successful in leading the students to form their own opinions, so that some of them are for, some of them are against, and both sides prepare promo materials to advocate their own point of view. They have some great video and visual presentation. And next, the Lehigh Cement is a continuing issue. This is second year, and this is second year we are studying that, because Rhoda Fry has always been able to get the students very engaged and gave them a lot of information. And they would attend the Board of Supervisor meetings, City Council meetings to advocate for better environment. Next slide, please. So 2020, we had 6 projects. This is the other 3. These 3 more or less focused on COVID at the time. One is focused on education economical impact. This group was led by 2, one is Gopal and the other is Zhou Jiang. 2 are community leaders. And they actually let each student decide to take on a topic and did their own study. And then COVID-19, we had a mentor all the way from Ohio, actually, thanks to Zoom, and who is working on Asian health. And Dr. Albert Wang, board of director of Palo Alto Foundation Medical. And the 2 of them give the students a lot of information on healthcare and how, what's the equity issue in healthcare, especially in COVID. And then we have a continuous session on mental health. They proposed some policies for school districts. And that's led by our beloved Han Wei council member. Next slide, please. And this year, we decide to do 3 groups each time, but separate, so that so in this fall study group, we will did 3. And one is on drug decriminalization or the complication of drug policies, led by a wonderful mentor, Tech Allen, who is the president of International Faith-Based Coalition, and she resides in Sacramento and constantly advocates for bills with legislators. And Michael Goldman, former city council member of Sunnyvale, comes back to lead the homeless group. He always focused on data analysis. And then Han Wei continues to lead another passionate group on mental health. I believe we have Han Wei and Eleanor here in the audience. If you want to say hi.
Not yet. They
Yeah,
said
not
they're
yet.
going to
Okay.
join. But we will have a recording for them.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, next page, please. The case study, I think,
I can speak about that.
yeah.
So we're going to do 2 detailed case study by the student leaders of Prop 16 and mental health. Okay, Alyssa.
Okay. Well, during the 10-week program or the 10-week season, various propositions were put on the California ballot. And tying back to the theme of relevancy, one of those propositions was Proposition 16, or Prop 16, which ended up as its very own topic in our cohort. And I was lucky enough to join the study group and act as a student fellow under the mentorship of Eleanor Yick, who is the former superintendent of Mountain View Wisman School District and the current president of the League of Women Voters, Southwest Santa Clara Valley. One of our end goals was to get involved in the advocacy for or against this proposition in the boundaries of our local community. And in order to do this, we had to first understand Prop 16's historical context, as well as its potential effects on California residents. For our viewers who are unfamiliar with Prop 16, this bill was proposed to repeal Prop 209, which passed in 1996 and stated that The government and public institutions cannot discriminate against or grant preferential treatment to persons on the basis of gender, race, color, ethnicity, or national origin in areas such as public employment, public education, and public contracting. So in other words, if Prop 16 passed, it would allow the preferential treatment that is currently banned. Since many in the cohort had already formed strong opinions about their stances on Prop 16, the cohort's work focused on the need to look at both sides of an issue, especially when analyzing a controversial topic, whether that is a ballot measure, a piece of legislation, or any other major life decision. A number of guest speakers were invited to share their perspectives on Prop 16, and this included Liang, Gloria Hu, Kansin Chu, and Peter Stahl. From the sign-up, the students were able to hear arguments arguing for and against this proposition, as well as how to use this information to create our own stance and remain as impartial to this proposition. And because YAPA values nonpartisanship and representation of values and perspectives from both sides, it was important for us to reserve our individual stances for ourselves. And next slide. One of our deliverables or end products was an infographic, which we, as we can see here, there are two of just a multi-part arrangement that my team designed and created to promote voting on this proposition, but we maintained both sides and perspectives to educate the public. And we posted this on Instagram as well as Facebook, and we kept the visuals as simple as possible so that as many people will be able to get as much information from from as much visual stimulation as possible. I would like to thank Eleanor and Benny, my co-lead, for coordinating each week's pre-meeting, which set the tone and objectives for each week.
Yeah, so
Okay,
here's another example of a topic-specific study group. Our mental health study group, which is our longest running topic, starting from 2019 and still currently running in 2021. And this case study is of our group in 2020, specifically with the pandemic creating a lot of new concerns and a need for new mental health policies and creativity. There was a lot for us to cover. So our mentor Hung Wei helped connect us with a wide variety of speakers during our weekly meeting sessions, some of whom we've listed here. These speakers gave us insight on student mental health from various perspectives and guided us as we brainstormed policy and project ideas and came up with proposals. And it was extremely beneficial for our group to have this expertise and people we could talk to who had actually kind of been in this business and had been working on these initiatives for a while. Our other mentor, Clifton Derping, is the campus psychologist at De Anza College, actually, and he had a lot of experience both working with students and advocating for mental health causes, both with college students and kind of on a higher level. We've also conducted projects within the community to gauge what kinds of concerns people had during the initial months of the pandemic. Next slide, please. For instance, we created and distributed a wellness survey for the Bay Area modeled on the ones that were given to students in campus surveys. So we've displayed some of the results below. These numbers and responses helped us narrow our goals in terms of policy to a few essential concerns while we were working in our groups. During COVID, loneliness, lack of a support system, both emotionally and academically, and social estrangement were some of the major areas we ended up working on with our policy proposals. So here are a few of our proposals. We acted on these by presenting at board meetings, emailing board members and administrators. Some of our group members have also joined wellness and student connection task forces at our schools, and they've actually helped implement some of these policies and ideas we've had. And the great thing about a topic like mental health is that the way to help is constantly growing and evolving. So year by year, we keep relearning what issues are prevalent in the community, and we get to collectively discover how best to address them, which is an important experience both for us who are studying this and an essential effort for our schools and communities.
Thank you. So that concludes the brief introduction of the study group. So every year, so we also hold an annual conference called, you call it Youth in Action YIA conference, for the student to present their project. We also do a mentor appreciation, and as well as invite the speakers. This is the conference we did in 2019. Is held in Campbell's Community Hall. We have the honor to have the Congressman Rokana here, staying with us for, I think, 2 hours. He actually hear all the group's presentation, and we have a youth conversation panel with him directly. We also invite a common a party, another like officials, and we host a UBI debate and also have a variety of the panel discussions. That is the conference in 2019. We published a cohort book to record the whole, including student testimony and all the photos and the project summary in our website for that year as well. So you can feel free to go to our website and check out our cohort book. Okay, next page. Next, yeah. And then last year, as mentioned, everything was moved online. So now, actually, this is a brand new experiment, but it's very, very successful because we realized the online meeting for the cohort, for the study group actually is quite productive for people meeting online. And we also attempt to do our annual conference online. That conference was very carefully planned. So in addition to the traditional presentation that you all hear, we designed some games as shown in the picture. The students was very creative. They create lots of the online games to interact with the audience, the quiz, and the presentation is also very interactive. We have video. The student group also records some like appreciation videos to show to their the mentors. And a group, because it's right on the Halloween time, so they actually designed this Halloween themed backgrounds. Next page. Yeah, and for the mentor appreciation, we designed this online thank you note so everyone can sign and say a thank you note, and we submit. We design a certificate and email to the graduating senior and officers. Okay, next one. All right, so that's conclude the study group part. So let's move on to talk about the YAPA's community outreach in social media.
Now moving on to our social media and outreach, we have 3 main methods: Instagram, newsletters, and blogs. I think you skipped a bit. It should be the Instagram page. Yeah. The purpose of our infographic series was to increase traffic and community engagement with our social media posts, as well as other content, increase reputability of our organization, make connections with similar organizations and public figures, and spread important policy-related information to teenagers on social media. This is a picture of our Instagram feed where we post infographics that have to do with current events or were just important for teens to know, as well as flyers for our upcoming events. We also allow different study groups to have their own posts on here. So if they have like an important event or important policy that they want to share, we would post it on here and make a little infographic about it. In our newsletters, we have a co-presence message, invitations to upcoming events, recaps of events, and other community events for our YAPA network. We send these newsletters out monthly and is one of our main ways to stay connected to our YAPA family. To sign up for a newsletter, please go to yapadvocates.org/sign-up. The purpose of our YAPA blog is not only to give recaps of our events, but to also give updates on study group projects. These updates are a precursor to the end of the cohort presentations and is available to the public on our website in case they cannot attend our final presentations.
Thank you. So this year we attempt a brand new project. We start our first summer camp, civic camps in 2021. The idea behind this is because since we're able to train so many high school student leaders to be advocates and to engage in civic education, we want them to pass on their own experience to the younger generation, which is the target audience for those camps are middle school students. So we host a middle school camp, which is led by the high school student leaders. And we also have a high school camp. Okay, so let's hear the student talk about what we did in the middle school camps. Sanjay.
So before I get into that, I just wanted to quickly say, like, as a moderator, technically our time is up, like, for this session. So, but we're going to continue since it was kind of planned and just to have like the complete recording. But as for the part, like the audience, you are free to join. I think it's the speed networking mixer that is on the main page. I'm just going to send the link in the chat. That starts at 11:35. So so I just wanted to put that out there just so that you don't end up missing that. Okay, anyway. So our camp consisted of 3 major aspects. One of them being skill building sessions, the other being panel discussions, and the last one were advocacy and service projects, where our middle school campers were able to create a project around an issue that they were passionate about. So this is just how our schedule looked like in general. In the morning, we would have some type of skill building session from 10 to 12. We would have some type of panel discussion, and then in the afternoon, we would give the participants to more time to work on their advocacy projects. So as I said before, one of the major aspects of our camp was the skill building sessions. So all of these, what makes like this camp very unique is that all of these specific topics and the vast majority of the lectures were designed by us high schoolers. And the main reason for this is that 3 to 4 years ago, we were middle schoolers too, and we know we're better able to relate to what a middle schooler might want to learn a lot better than someone in, say, their 20s or 30s. Like for me, for example, as a middle schooler, I had terrible public speaking skills, and I knew practically nothing about government. So that's why me, along with a lot of the other high schoolers who were helping with planning the camp, heavily emphasize that we have some type of lecture on government and on public speaking. And then in order to complement our lectures, we had engaging activities like Kahoots and speaking drills in order to make sure that our sessions were more engaging. So this is just something like how our presentations look like. This camp was online, so we just did it through Google Slides. Another aspect of our camp were the panels. So our panels consisted of various differing individuals ranging from politicians to community leaders to youth leaders. So just to get a bit more in depth into our panel, there were 2 major groups, which were elected officials and youth panelists. So the main reason why we wanted to select have a youth panel was so that these middle schoolers could see that in 2 to 3 years, even I can make an impact just like them, and also be able to like form a connection with someone who's a bit more experienced, but can also relate to them. So if they ever need help in the future, they could always reach out to our youth leader panelists. We also decided to have elected officials just because a major aspect of advocacy is that you have to somehow sway the opinion of an elected official in order to get them on your side, or reinforce their current mindset that your policy is the correct one. And in order to truly understand what we have to do in order to get them to get onto our side, we need to like hear from the elected officials themselves. And as a middle schooler, it's really difficult to be able to talk to an elected official. So that's why we decided to include an elected official panel as well. And then, yeah, these are just our three panelists that we had, as well as me when I was moderating this panel.
So during the afternoon of the camp, we had a session that engaged our students by allowing them to choose a problem they wanted to address and to create a solution for it, whether it be service projects such as creating a promotional campaign for nonprofits, researching a local bill, creating a local community event, or using other online platforms. So the reason why our camp is so unique is because it's very hands-on. We emphasize entrepreneurship in our teens through engaging them in relatable issues. First, they brainstorm for a problem that they felt either personally affected by or was very important to their peers. Then we help them research what the problem is and if there has been any steps taken to address it. After researching, we brainstorm potential solutions to the problem, and like I said earlier, everyone came up with a service project dedicated to it. Finally, each group created a PowerPoint to show the progress and to propose their solutions. Throughout this process, we highlighted the importance of working together as youth and the magnitude of the voice they each had. For what you see on screen, this is one of the groups that advocated for mental health awareness in youth. The upper left image is a slide of them addressing the problem, and moving along to the right is the proposal of a safe space, which is basically a classroom in the schools that helps with raising awareness for mental health. Then below each pictures are their progress and highlighting their marketing research, such as their target audience, as well as the cold email they've written, which they learned from the morning session to their target audience. And this is the survey they created, asking for feedback on the safe space idea and looking for feedback from students who already had these kind of classrooms, which they sent to as many people as they could and help them determine their strategy for setting up a safe space. So to promote their survey as well as raise awareness about mental health, they also created an Instagram post, which was posted on the main YAPA account. This was basically defining mental health, giving several statistics, and then transitioning into talking about the proposal of a safe space. And in addition to the survey and mental health, they also created a petition demanding safe spaces in schools, emphasizing the importance of holding schools responsible for their students' well-being. And here's another group that also addressed mental health called Positive Youth. In this project, however, they focused on positivity and increasing empathy in youth. They did this through posting on Instagram and also creating forums that helped increase engagement in this project. And then I'll pass it on to Sanjay to talk about what his group did.
So yeah, my group consisted of two girls who were just fresh out of 5th grade. And what they were really passionate about was like pets. There's like one girl who like wanted to reduce the amount of pets that were abandoned. And then the idea that we came up with was to create blog articles as well as a website in order to educate individuals on what you need to do before you get a pet in order to decrease the likelihood of them and abandoning said pet. So us three, we worked together, each working on different sections based on our field of knowledge. And we put together various blog articles as well as a website that just listed the general tips for new pet owners, specifically for dogs, fish, and small animals.
So something else that made our camp so unique is because it was facilitated and coached by experienced high school students. Student leaders helped these youth come up with these proposals and research and helped guide throughout this program. The reason we did this was because high school students have, like Sanjay said earlier, a similar language to middle school students, and we understand each other better than maybe adults and middle schoolers. Additionally, we too have done this and learned about advocacy during the YAPA fall sessions. And in a way, it was a win-win since middle schoolers learned about advocacy while we also strengthened our own understanding on policy and as well as our leadership skills. Without further said, here's a student testimonial from the Positive Youth Group.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm part of the Positive Youth Group, and YAPA Summer Camp has taught me a lot about advocacy and policy work. This camp has really influenced my views towards the world and made me realize that I have a bigger voice than I thought I did, and I can, as a youth, make an impactful change in the world. Hi.
Okay, so that concludes our middle school camp. Let's move on to our high school camp, which is led by Liang Fang and Alan.
Hi, everyone. Well, as you can see, the middle school camp not only provided value for the middle school students, it also provides our high school mentors actually have grown a lot. Through the camp, they prepare all the presentation slides, the training material, and then the projects used a lot of different technologies that we adults didn't know even, or we didn't know how much the middle schoolers can comprehend. And then they actually, I think high schoolers really helped make this kind of camp much stronger. Thank you for all the amazing mentors from our middle school camp. So for high school, we provided a pretty heavy lecture heavy camp, and started with effective policy making and lectures by Will Roche on how to make policy that doesn't have to be aware of unintended consequences, and be aware of groupthink, and how to seek diversity viewpoint. And we were lucky to get a senior person from legislative analyst office. He is the person who actually criticized the governor's state budget and policies and write report to give governor recommendations. And his office also provide an analysis and recommendation to the legislators. And then we also had, we were honored to have Santa Clara County Democratic Party chair, and we had Chris LaGrasse, who is strategic analyst that sort of like a lobbyist that works with legislators. And then this camp also focused on data science. So we partnered with Berkeley Citrus Policy Lab to learn about the research they have done there. And they showed how they use artificial intelligence to analyze Twitter traffic in policy issues and how that affects politics. And then on Friday, the first week, we also learned from grassroots organizers for Prop 16 to learn about their success story. So the first week is mostly focused on lecture and different speakers with their actual policy making and advocacy experience. The second week, we started our group project, but also we have panels and other distinct panel. We have journalists, editorial board editors. We had the founder of Asian Law Alliance. We had a longtime ABC News reporter, and we had two district chair from Congressman Locana's office and Evan Law's office to talk to our kids about actually what's their job, but also what it will be like working as intern in their office. Next slide, please. So we have Alan, unfortunately couldn't be with us today. He's on a backpacking trip, but he made a video to talk about the lecture part of the camp. We play the video. Yeah. Oh, you might need to reshare with the sound, or
It's a recorded video.
So maybe let's skip this part due to the
oh,
time.
we have sound. There is sound.
Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, I couldn't be here today, so I decided to record a video about my role in YAPA's 2021 Summer Civic Engagement Camp called Changemakers. I primarily worked on the skill building lectures, so that's what I'll be talking about today. The goal of YAPA's Changemakers was to teach high schoolers about data and analysis so that they could run their own statistical analyses and advocate for various government policies. So with this overarching goal in mind, we focused on 4 topics. First, biases in policymaking. We first looked at how correlation is not causation and looked at examples of confounding variables that can make us believe that a causal relationship exists when it really doesn't. We also looked at overconfidence, partisan biases, and status quo biases, all different kinds of biases that can cause individuals to make bad public policy decisions. Then we looked at strategic readjustment and the Cobra effect, when policies can often have unintended consequences. Our second lecture focused on the basics of state and local government structure, looking at city, county, school board, state, and federal government, and how all of these different layers of government intersect, and why America's federalist system makes understanding local and state governments so important. We also looked at how state legislative sessions work so that if students wanted to advocate for a state level policy change, they could work with the calendar and figure out how to do that. The third lecture was about public speaking. I talked about clarity, tone of voice, movement, hand gestures, as well as looking at how to structure a basic speech, how to become more confident, and also the importance of the narrative in persuasive speeches. And then I talked about how to use all of these skills to do door-to-door canvassing so that you can advocate your policy to voters. Our final lecture was about data science, and we looked at essentially the essence of how social science works, and talked about multiple regressions and controlling for other variables, as well as running regressions. I believe that all of these skills are crucial for future policymakers, and it prepares all of these students for advocacy projects, university level econometric analysis, and also future government jobs.
Okay, next. So here are the wonderful lecturers and guest speakers from week 1. This camp would not be possible without all of them volunteering their time to share their experiences with our high schoolers. I am so grateful of them. Next slide, please. These are our speakers from the second week. So our panelist, journalist, district chief, and also Eleanor, who talked about how League of California Women does advocacy and issue analysis. And next, here are the mentors for our group project. So thank for all the mentors. They spent dedicated 1 or 2 hours every day for 1 week to work with students on the project, and then they presented on the final day. Yeah. Next, please. So in the future, our vision is for YAPA right now is equipping the students with skills to do change making, find out which direction to change and how to advocate for those change. And next, we hope that they can use those change to become a social innovation, so you can produce and then eventually it will become an enterprise, so that these solutions will impact more people. Next, please. And so you are welcome to join YAPA as adult mentors or high schoolers, and so that we can help expand the impact, maybe beyond Bay Area to other areas. And we hope to partner with other organizations too who share similar vision. Next, please. And here is some of our contact information. So reach out, or you would like to interview our amazing youngsters to learn about what they have learned. Thank you.
Look, I think that about concludes our presentation.
Thank you. Yeah. Can we take a very quick group picture here? Can we go to the slide? Maggie, go to maybe the last slide. Or the beginning one. Yep. how about the very beginning, the very first slide? Thank you, everyone. So to put together such a wonderful presentation in 2 days, literally. Okay. Danfang, take a picture.
I think maybe we should get rid of the slide because we can't get everyone in
Yeah,
one
you
picture.
can. You need to be. doing
But
every
okay,
review.
can you do okay, I can include everyone. Yeah,
Oh, you can include everyone with.
yeah. If you slide, you move your screen, half of the slide, half of the presenter. Let me do a screenshot.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me take a picture.
Or you need to turn off participant, probably. Turn off the chat and participant in PowerPoint.
Okay, already take. Let me take a few more. Someone can take a picture. Okay. Okay, smile. One more. Okay. Oh, shoot. Okay, one more. Hold on. Okay, smile. All right. Thank you. Sorry for the delay. Let's go back to the main session and join the award ceremony.
Sounds good. I'll see you all there.